TV3, you get the money credited into your mobile money account. Is as you increase the number of tickets you have, and as always, you become one of those lucky winners. And I have to say that, look, for all those who tend to be those lucky winners, especially those who tend to win twice or 3 times, I don't know how you do it, but it certainly has to be a value you have, a value of persevering, making sure you don't give up. And I think that's what I love about it. And my outfit today is courtesy Sonar Fashions. And Sonar Fashions, they are located in the northern regional capital, the great city of Tamale. And Sonar, that is operated by Amadou. Amadou, good morning. Wherever you find yourself with Sonar Fashions, please, you can reach them on 024 659 0162. And Johnny Hughes introduced me to him. So, Amadou, good morning to you. Hashmin as well. Sonar Fashions, always. If you live in Tamale, you live in the Enclave, please make sure you go to them. I love it. I feel so free. Sonar Fashions. But those of you who have joined us, we have to tell you, the special prosecutor went up, has come down again in relation to the OSP's position on the former finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, who the SP, the special prosecutor, Kisie Jabin, declared as a fugitive. Now we're told he's off that red list. Also because the lawyers representing Ken Oforiatta got in touch constantly, and now there's a sort of an amicable solution or truce that, well, he will be out of the jurisdiction seeking medical treatment, and thereabout May, June, that's when he will be back right here in Ghana, and the investigations could continue. But there's some key questions, because importantly, the special prosecutor had said that some of their interested parties or personalities sometimes will join them either by virtual, etc. What does it mean? So let me just tell you the individuals we have right here in the studio who will be joining us. I have a former member of parliament for Myong, Mohammed Abdulaziz is here, well dressed. Over the last couple of weeks has been dressing, you know, white collar, shirt, tie, etc. You look good. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning. But I will not mind you on your mischief.
Oh, no.
This is pure mischief.
I'm just commenting how you look.
That's why I say thank you to
Prince
you.
Charles, Charlie. Mohammed Abdulaziz, thank you very much, Honorable. And then also legal practitioner and political analyst as well, an entrepreneur in his own right. I have lawyer Apia Dankwa. They give you more poses. Good morning. He's been in conclave. He's been in conclave reviewing his notes or literature for his work today at the courts. And so let me say good morning to those of you who have joined us. Please cash out with us, *439#. Use the code *439#. Choose option 2. And for all those who are joining us, let me say, from the Volta Regional Capital with the Stevens Hotel, we have Bless, etc. And we'll be joined by Dr. Samuel Efriye, political analyst. And Dr. Samuel Efriye is a good celebrant. He's in white. I want to ask him what the occasion is. A fine, refined gentleman. And I always love his submissions, no matter which side of the political divide it goes, because he says it as it is. And I think that he's a fair, objective person. And that's why we love him always on the show. Good morning to you, Dr. Samuel Efriye. You look like an angel this morning.
Oh, Roland, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be on your program also, and thank you very much. Well, the white, you know, it's a normal day, and we have to be in white.
Okay, so it's just an attire of choice. Okay.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, oh no, I'm just commending you that you look good. All right.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, for those of you who have joined us on our stream, I have to acknowledge you. It's very important. Obrin Paul Kaba has joined us. I have Nia Tukwekwe. Onupa, how are you? I wish you all the best for the day. And Timothy Kwabla Baji, good morning to you. Evans Ibn Samba, Samuel Abuchi also watching. Samuel Boydu, I wish you all the best for the day. Sabina Kalu, or Kali, good morning to you. And for many of you who have joined us, Pajo also has joined us. Golden Arrow, these names. Okay, please make sure you share the stream. Money, Money, and the rest. Imelda Nassar. Now, let's go through what the special prosecutor first said about Ken Oforiatta, the interested party, a former finance minister. And then subsequently, we'll look at his release and what he's saying, why he decided to delist him from the red list.
OSP is unconvinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Oforiatta through his lawyers to the OSP represents a medical report to the effect that Mr. Oforiatta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. The OSP declares Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta a wanted person. He is a fugitive from justice. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. And this is to Mr. Oforiatta. You have two choices. You can either return to the jurisdiction voluntarily or the OSP will enforce your return. Mr. Oforiatta, the OSP did not raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025. Our intelligence points us to state that the purported raid on Mr. Oforiatta's residence was staged, or at best, an imposter action in an attempt to court disfavor for the OSP and to derail the investigation.
So there was a runabout or a turnaround, so to speak. They decided to now remove him from the red list. He's no more a fugitive, and that's a statement that the OSP then brought out. But the main issue we want to look at this morning is what clearly are the key indicators we need to pick from this. And if Ken Oforiatta, the former finance minister, will have to be in the country in May to be able to appear before the special prosecutor or the office of the special prosecutor, what then happens subsequently with the investigations concerning the particular issues that he needs to come and answer for. And subsequently also, we have then a response coming from his legal representatives, so his lawyers, apparently had been engaging the office of the special prosecutor because they had not taken it kindly, the words and the description of Ken Oforiatta. And so we have the representatives of Ken Oforiatta, and this is what they've been saying. All right. But in the meantime, what do you make of the position that the special prosecutor has said and its impact wholesomely on this very subject? Investigations of the man himself, the actions he undertook in office.
Well, Roland, it is refreshing that the office of the special prosecutor and the lawyers of Mr. Ken Oforiatta are beginning to get to some common grounds. The initial optics were not just too good for everybody. The fact remains that what, in my view, what made the special prosecutor to have considered him as a fugitive was, one, the fact that he indicated that the medical report that is submitted to him was very sketchy. It wasn't detailed enough to get him convinced that the man was so unwell to be able to attend to his invitation. And so I have heard some people question why he was declared a wanted person. But of course, if the man explains that the medical report that was submitted to his office was inadequate, was sketchy, and in his view did not suggest that he was so sick that he couldn't attend to his invitation, that would have been a very good basis. The second issue has to do with the representation made by his lawyers to the fact that the man didn't know when he would get back to Ghana. You know, if they had given an indication that our client will be back in Ghana in a month or 2 or 3 months, I'm sure that would have been enough an assurance to the office of the special prosecutor. But to indicate that you don't know when your client will be back, clearly was an indication that the man was running away from the wheels of justice. Of course, I understand now they have written to the OSP indicating that he will be back somewhere May ending, between the 14th to the end of a month in May. That means that whatever investigations or prosecutions would have to wait until he comes back. They say the wheels of justice grind slowly but surely. I think that we must all support the office of the special prosecutor to the extent that that office is investigating and also intends to prosecute corruption and corruption-related offenses. I mean, the issue of the SML, we all know when the story broke out how we all felt. And so sometimes public officials will go and cancel contracts that would incur some judgment debt to this country. There are a lot of issues of the ambulances, how the daughters of the president were involved and the amounts of money that were involved. For instance, how would you buy a set of ambulances from one supplier around $70,000 per one, and then when it comes to the daughter of the president, you are paying as much as $140,000. So the man has some serious questions to answer. I'm sure this will not be the last of issues that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta has to answer. He has a lot of issues on his head. We all remember the issue of the insurance of when we had a COVID in 2020, how 10 million Ghana cedis was paid to his company, the enterprise insurance, and yet there was no any agreement between him and the government. We are all aware of the conflict of interest where he had to lead Ghana to go and borrow, and that same person will take some commission. We know what our law talks about when it comes to the issues of conflict of interest. So I'm not sure this will be the last of a series of issues that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta has to answer. I have maintained that if indeed, and this one is subjective, I speak as a party member here, that if we indeed, the government of President Mahama wants to deal with this matter, and I have no reason to doubt that President Mahama and the NDC is committed to holding the former government officials accountable for some of the acts that they engage in themselves in. I think that the proper vehicle to use, the reliable vehicle to use, will be the office of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Because yes, per the Constitution, you are a lawyer, you will help us. It is the Attorney General who has the right to prosecute such matters. The one that's extended to the office of the Special Prosecutor is like a landed authority, but the original jurisdiction lies with the Attorney General. Sometimes you are not too sure how speed and how committed the office of the Special Prosecutor would be. There has been a lot of issues that I thought that by now it should have brought to a conclusion that are still raging on. And so for us to move at the speed that we want to, and for us to give a strong signal that we want to fight corruption, I think that our government should be using the office of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. I listened to the AG indicate that even this press conference, all the issues around Ken Ofori-Atta and the Mustafa Ahmed and Co., he was not in the picture. He wasn't informed about it. He knows nothing about it. He sent the...
But the reality is that it's not, he shouldn't necessarily know.
Well, but not to
because
control
the act that establishes the office of the special prosecutor, even though it's supposed to be done in conjunction or in relation to perhaps also the approval of the, or in consonance with the Attorney General, he can also initiate actions on his own.
I agree completely with you that the OSP can initiate. He has done that. I mean, all the cases that are before the OSP,
okay,
he actually initiated those prosecutions. But for some synergy, because these are government-related issues, and whether you like it or not, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General remains the number one officer in this country relative to our laws and how they are implemented.
Article 88.
Exactly. And so just informing him wouldn't take anything away from the office. Why? When recently the Attorney General had a press encounter with the pressman to give reasons why he had to drop some charges. Questions on that matter came. Yeah. And he said he was going to engage the OSP to see what his thinking was. But I think that going forward, we should be using as a government, as a party.
Interested in using I'll try and bring you in, but let me go to Dr. Samuel Efriye.
So I think that we should be more interested in using the AG and the Minister for Justice to deal with these issues. I'm not taking anything away from the OSP, but I think
are you saying this because whatever actions that are taken by the OSP, perhaps in the public domain, is construed to be an action that is sanctioned by the president and the government, so to speak, and so gives it bad publicity?
So let me ask this rhetorical question. Roland, are you convinced that if the NPP were still in power today, the OSP would have done this to Ken Ofori-Atta? Would he have gotten the balls to do this to Ken Ofori-Atta? And so there are questions that we all ask. Not everything can be said publicly, but I think that, look, for us to prosecute effectively the offenses that were committed under the tenure of Ken Ofori-Atta, we should be using the office of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Today that we are told he's sick. Why? Under President Akufo-Addo and President Kufuor, they arrested people in churches. People were arrested in churches. We had people who were former ministers of NDC who were very sick and were jailed. And so Ken Ofori-Atta is not above the law. Sometimes, yesterday, for instance, I listened to the minority leader, trying to communicate to Parliament the interaction that he had with Ken Ofori-Atta. So the man is so fit, so well, to the extent that he could have some elaborate discussions with the minority leader and yet cannot come into this country to help investigations. And so no one is above the law. Ken Ofori-Atta is not above the law. I still remember with pain how Victor Solomon, Kwame Peprad, Adam Ibrahims, and many more stalwarts of the NDC, for very flimsy reasons, willful causing financial loss to the state, when indeed there was no any established act of corruption against them, and yet they were jailed. Ken Ofori-Atta is not above the law. We will subject him to the laws of this country, and if he's found guilty, he will be jailed. If we subject him to investigations and he comes out clean, so be it. But I'm more than convinced that Ken Ofori-Atta cannot come out clean if we subject him to proper investigations.
All right. We've also been joined by Vitus Bang, also a legal practitioner. So we have two legal practitioners right here on this subject. Mr. Vitus Bang, good morning to you. Thank you also for joining us. All right. Now, Dr. Efriye, the critical issue is, at the time when the Office of the Special Prosecutor decided to make those formal announcements, of course led by Kisi Ajabing, the SP himself, the perception out there was that the way and manner he did it was just to court public attention. Now, at the end of the day, that should not be construed to mean that perhaps he couldn't have done so, because in the past, he's undertaken a number of actions publicly, going about press conferences, etc. So why should that be a problem in the first place, Dr. Efriye, Samuel Efriye?
Yes, greetings once again to you and also your cherished viewers and your panelists. You know, the assertion by OSP during that is the press describing or trying to declare the former Minister for Finance as a fugitive. Well, people has criticized him, of which I'm one of them, in the sense that if you are doing investigation and one with the other is not complete, or maybe you have all the avenues to use to get in touch, because one, you can even go to wherever he is because you have that kind of opportunity to use that tool. So if you have not used all the available means to secure the information that you require from the former minister, then you can't just use the word fugitive to describe it. And the word fugitive, as might be described, is somebody who is running away from the law or from justice. And, you know, as an investigative institution, you cannot just make a conclusive statement if you have not made all the available means to secure or to get the information issues within OSP. But one and the other, I think that what made him to use or to
It looks like we're having internet issues with you, and so we'll see whether we're able to rectify that. But at the end of the day, I made a supposition, and that was just a contribution to what he was saying at the time, that the OSP and the act that establishes it, and going by the actions he's undertaken in relation to this very subject matter, he clearly should have some powers and some authority to do that.
So let me wish you a good morning. When you were describing me those flowery times, I didn't have the chance to respond. So have a good morning. And a long time meeting my old friend. I'm very happy this morning. I haven't met him.
You haven't met him in a while.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
It's a pleasure. And a good morning to your lovely viewers
as well.
For me, I think the biggest story from this OSP saga is whether or not the OSP is truly independent. Whether or not the OSP is truly independent. When my brother here was making his, I think you're asking the question. And, you see, my personal view is that clearly the way in which the OSP was created, you understand, as in by just an act, without tackling the constitutional issues of who has the powers to prosecute, because I think the terms of the Constitution is clear that all criminal prosecutions shall be initiated by the Attorney General. This is all criminal action will be initiated by the Attorney General, and so technically the OSP really is like an agent of the AG, in my view. Because
clear appendage.
It's an agent. It's clear like he's clear like an agent because the powers the OSP is using, you understand, because of our failure to amend the Constitution and then make the OSP the creation of the Constitution. Really, the powers he's using is Attorney General's powers. I don't think we should go around that question.
We shouldn't dilly-dally.
No, because
let's call a spade a spade.
What it is all. It didn't say some. It says all. And I don't think you can amend the Constitution by just an act of Parliament. And my brother, Honorable, made a very fantastic point. The offences for which the OSP feels that he wanted to call Ken a fugitive were offences that were committed about 2-3 years ago. Why did OSP not get the courage to initiate the action 2 or 3 years ago? And then he only had the courage to initiate, but he had suddenly the OSP found courage to even call Ken a fugitive. Could he have done that in the old regime? Meanwhile, the whole essence, the argument that was made for why we needed an OSP was so that we have somebody who will be able to prosecute corruption and corruption-related matters that pertains to politicians without the holdback, or without the influence of political authority. You understand? Because there's a thin line between prosecution and persecution. There's a thin line, and we don't want a situation where political actors will use what's called their powers to, or will weaponize the powers we give them to pursue their political opponents. For 8 years, under the last regime, for 8 years, for close to 8 years, some people were going to police back, were going to court, and nothing happened. So really the question is, were they being truly prosecuted or they were just being persecuted? It is for those reasons why the people of Ghana supported the idea of an independent special prosecutor. In our thinking, we felt that that independent prosecutor was going to be given raw powers. But in the way we did it, it was once again a clear case of let's do something to represent something. It was a clear case of let's do something to
satisfy a campaign promise that
let's do
there
something.
Is going to be a drive for anti-corruption.
Let's just do something to
represent
something. We
something to represent
something. No commitment. Nothing.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a fair and it's a fair assessment because
you're a legal practitioner. So when you make that assessment, is that a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment because the president, who, in all fairness to him, has made a name. Is a lawyer of fantastic repute. I don't need to stand here and we all know So even if I am here under Petangwa, you understand, I know that to give real effect to the intention of creating a body which is truly independent, then that to be done by amending the constitution to give that body real powers. Because immediately the OSP was created in the manner it was, in the manner it was, then it was under the control of somebody. And the whole idea of having an OSP who is truly independent, the whole idea was so that we will have proper prosecution, we will bring to life one of the fundamental principles under penal constitution, probity and accountability. But because of lack of commitment and because the focus was just to show to the people of Ghana that indeed we are fulfilling a campaign promise, they created it by an act, by way of an act, which meant that they still could control him. Because, like I'm saying, per the constitution, is the Attorney General who, for all intents and purposes, has the power to initiate all criminal what's called actions. So if you do not amend the constitution and just make the creation of the OSP by way of an act, then argument could be made that listen, the AG can still control, and by extension the president can still control. And that's why clearly offenses or purported offenses which were committed more than 3 years ago, the OSP didn't have the courage to say that
he didn't have the guts.
Yeah, he didn't have the courage, but he didn't have the courage. This SML issue, how long have you not heard about it? There's what's it called, ambulance issue. Could you have had the Canyonis to investigate the
National Cathedral?
You understand? And that was why, for we the movement, in a proposal for how we're going to fight corruption, we said that to succeed, among other things, we need to amend the constitution and then delineate from the AG those powers of prosecuting the kind of offenses before the OSP needed to prosecute by way of the constitution. So the OSP becomes what's called a constitutionally created body who gleans its power from the constitution, not an agent of the AG. Also, clear, I know we've been talking about the fugitive, but I think the bigger story is whether or not the OSP is truly independent and whether or not we've created a body, we've created an institution, we've closed an institution with proper powers to be truly independent. And we cannot create that body unless we do so by amending the constitution. It was one intense effort. So when the Attorney General now requested that the OSP should report, it was proper. Because if you are using my powers, powers that the constitution itself gave me, and by extension the people of Ghana gave me, then you cannot use those powers without recourse to me. Then you must be under my supervision. Because really the powers are my powers. You get the picture. So listen, let us not play unnecessary politics with this issue of the OSP. Because I'm saying we all know how corruption impacts our country. If we are really committed to fighting corruption, then we need a radical reset at our entire
architecture.
What's one country? You have Yoko, you have Shiash, you have police, you have office of special police, and still
even for financial crimes and we even have FIC
and still it's not doing something to represent something. What is the definition of
even there are even powers of search are given to the Auditor General
and is he using them now? And what's the definition of corruption? Why do we like doing things to represent something? You see, if you for the movement, you are saying, listen, to show true commitment, let us consolidate all the various laws that purpose to be dealing with corruption into one body. Let us have a clear definition of what corruption is. Let us create an independent, we call it anti-corruption czar. Let us create that person, but that creation must be from the constitution, not from an act, and give that body a true body. Let us have proper asset declaration system, which must be enforced. Let us have a consistent lifestyle audit. Because you see, unless we show proper commitment to the fight against corruption, then it will continue to be doing something to represent something. Where we are as a people, where we need to reset and to cause a restoration of political credibility, then we need to tackle this battle against corruption head on and stop this doing something to represent something.
We're just dealing, darling. We're going beating about the bush.
Doing something to represent something.
Dr. Free, you were on a point. Please continue and expatiate it.
Yes, I was just trying to let us know the OSP trying to please the media or trying to ask you asked that question. And I was trying to let us know that if the OSP will try to not fall into the political game in terms of partisan way, I think that the OSP will be the best. At the same time, I will suggest that the OSP should also be very careful so that they follow the procedural way of investigative issues or any actions. Because what I've realized so far is that mostly when these political cases or issues that cropped up, and OSP tends to be media trying to come out, tell us the media and issues, you realize that it just come out and then you just be juggle ourselves in terms of issues, then they become a political issue. So, Roland, I think that we need to be very careful so that OSP will play their part and also ensure that we don't just mention or use some names, because the word fugitive that he used, I was a little bit worried in the sense that in the international space, when you use fugitive, it means that you are somebody that is you are seriously wanted on that is the list, and it tarnished a lot of people image internationally. But I believe that because he could have used all avenues, because he did not exhaust the avenues of trying to contact the former minister. So I think that he could have exhausted it before trying to use fugitive. But I think later they tend to make it wanted. I think wanted is a little bit friendly than what fugitive. So I think that OSP should be cautious in their dealings as we are into this political stage of prosecuting former government officials or even current officials if the issues comes in. But I think that he has to tread cautiously so that he don't let us into the
All right. Mr. Vitus Bang has also joined. He's also a legal practitioner. So, good morning, Mr. Vitus Bang. Mr. Vitus Bang. Okay. Mr. Vitus Bang. Mr. Vitus Bang. Okay, we don't seem to have him. So, again.
Roland,
yeah. So,
there's nothing wrong if someone is running away from the law. There's nothing wrong when you refer to such a person as a fugitive. If you say, for instance, that it was right to declare him wanted, it means he had become a fugitive. That's why you had declared him wanted. Look, no one is above the law. We're in this country. President Akufo-Addo petitioned the OSP to investigate President Mahama, a former president. So if a former president who governed this country as vice president for 4 years, if the sitting president had the guts, the courage to refer him to OSP for investigations, what is so special that a former finance minister, in fact, who subjected Ghanaians to harsh economic times, what prevents him from being investigated and prosecuted? We shouldn't try to create some aura around him to suggest that he's so special. He say he's traumatized. Traumatized.
But those are management issues. He's managing the economy, and then it goes south. Those are not actions that could be impugned to the criminal.
As a fugitive. Do you know what happens to the pensioners that died because they couldn't get access to their funds to buy medication? They were not traumatized. They were killed. They died. Do you know how many people lost their funds and lost their jobs through the banking sector mess that they call the banking sector cleanup? And today we are saying you are traumatized just because you are far away in the US and you are being described as a fugitive in Ghana. You are so traumatized that it has become headlines in Ghana. Ghanaians have gone through worse times. We wish, in fact, under Akufo-Addo, Ghanaians wish they were traumatized. In fact, most Ghanaians lost their businesses. Some died. And so we shouldn't try to create some speciality around him as if he's a special character. Look, when I talk about this OSP office, a lawyer, you will help us. Like you indicated, Article 81, they say all prosecutions, all criminal prosecutions, right? Now, at the time that the Nanado, as president, passed the law through parliament to establish the OSP, the office of the special prosecutor, he wasn't committed to fighting corruption. He just wanted to play to the gallery, and that's what he did. And when he even did that, you know what he did? The first OSP he appointed, Martin Amidu, when he knew at that time that there was some sour relationship between Martin Amidu and Dendis at that time, he went in for him, thinking the man was going to hound NDC appointees, former appointees. And when that didn't happen, they ran into trouble with him. They stopped funding him. They had their own troubles. At the end of the day, Martin Amidu had to resign. And you remember
that was just a perception that was created.
No, it's not perception. It's not perception that at that time Martin Amidu was not in good terms with the NDC, and that our relationship with him had gone sour. And you can see some of the words that Nana Akufo-Addo used when he was introducing him. What was the verdict of Martin Amidu on even Nanado himself when he was leaving? He described him as a mother serpent of corruption. He did. And so right from the onset, this man wasn't committed to fighting corruption. The office, look, go and read the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, NACAP, that was produced under President Mahama. A very comprehensive report. Look, what we need to do as a country, yes, we all agree that it is difficult for Minister for Justice and Attorney General to prosecute his own colleagues, people that perhaps he sits with in cabinet. And so the thinking was that let us hive the Attorney General from the office of Minister for Justice, so that the Minister for Justice will remain the legal advisor to government and president, while the Attorney General, who will be non-partisan, would be dealing with only prosecutions. And so I still think that, look, we can have an Attorney General and not an OSP. And even before that, like you said, we have to amend Article 88. I don't know if Article 88 is entrenched or not. I don't know whether it's entrenched or not.
But even if it's still entrenched, it can be amended. Except that it's not difficult.
Yes, you have to go for a referendum.
And more so when the various, so we have a committee, and subsequently before that, or even before that, we had a commission.
Yes.
That all undertook the memoranda collection or reception, and then they made those recommendations.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
I think that.
But
what is most important?
Wouldn't you say that the political stakeholders, the two parties especially, who have occupied the executive arm of government since 1992,
yes,
have just paid lip service to that very action, decoupling the Attorney General's department or the Attorney General and the authority of that Attorney General from the political office, the Minister of Justice?
That has come up a couple of times in our public discourse.
For decades.
But in fighting corruption, Roland, you can have all the beautiful laws, you can have all the institutions. What is required most, in my humble opinion, is the political will of the political leader, the person who is leading the country, the president. In fact, under the Fourth Republic, I stand for correction though, President Mahama is the only president who has investigated, prosecuted, and secured conviction of his own appointees. Sometimes we refer to those instances painfully.
Kufuor did it.
Kufuor did his own.
Sports minister.
Malam.
Oh, Malam Issa. Malam Issa wasn't an MPP person.
No, but he was his appointee.
The thing is, when you are dealing with, and that was not even for corruption, it had to do with dual citizenship.
No, it was.
So
it was for corruption.
What I remember from Malam Issa,
the missing money in the bag.
Yeah, the missing money in the bag.
What I'm saying is that under President Mahama, you had his own appointees who were investigated, prosecuted, and convictions secured.
Okay.
We never saw that under President Akufo-Addo. All that he did was to, even when they were caught red-handed, even the man himself, President Akufo-Addo himself was seen in a video receiving money in an envelope. About 40,000. Why?
And
the video is available. I can make it available to you. So the man himself is,
when it comes to that video again, I have to be very categorical.
Yes.
That video was taken before he became president.
No, it's not true.
It was in the run-up to the campaign.
No, it's not true.
So that narrative, I will not accept it here.
It's not true because
please.
that man was given.
We can say everything.
Roland, I stand by.
And I always
that the man
insist,
was
please.
President when
you may say anything about the former president, but at the end of the day, that video,
you are even admitting that
each time it is referred to, I always try to do that clarification.
So do you remember that envelope containing US dollars was given to him for him to spare somebody who was a public officer.
It was a video that we saw a brown envelope. We never know the content of it.
If he was a candidate, how could he?
Could be cement blocks.
A protected
or a piece of bread.
Oh, well, if you want to say it was block or a piece of bread, I say the man himself. If you have never seen corruption and you see Akufo-Addo, you have seen corruption.
Are you on now? Okay. Dr. Efriye, at this point in time, if you take the actions of the current special prosecutor and the criticism or the concern that at the time when the Akufo-Addo-led administration was in office, he could have undertaken actions in relation to this very subject and the others, of course, that are all subject of investigations. And it is post-2024 that he's doing that under a new president. Would you say that's a fair question to ask and a good argument to make?
You see, Roland, that is one thing that we are all battling with in terms of the current action that the OSP is taking. If you are an OSP and when there's these issues about these allegations that is against the former minister, you know, you have these the cathedral, we have these SML, we have all the other issues that we are talking. When these investigations, or maybe and taking these betterments of Nanado than these, that is the current government. That's what I'm saying. That I said earlier that you should avoid these political games. If not, the office will be tagged as partisan in their issues relating to the cases confronting us. So I think he should have focused and even taking a good action during that time rather than now. And that should be avoided in his cases that is ahead of him as well.
So now that he has delisted him, he's no more a fugitive, would you say that perhaps for the public good, the position of the former finance minister, that he has to finish his medical treatment up to May, is fair not only to the intent of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, but also to satisfy what the public perception is in relation to some of these charges?
Yes, I think that was what I was trying to explain using these words fugitive and wanted list. You know, they are not the same. It has a lot of implication when you use fugitive. And that is what maybe the OSP wanted to avoid based on what the public or some section of the public wanted him to avoid. Because still, you did not exhaust all the options. So, because you can even travel, as I said earlier, travel to wherever he is so that you can get in touch with whatever information that you want. So, if you have not exhausted, why do you describe somebody as fugitive? But if you say wanted, maybe it could be justified because at the end of the day, the side of the former minister was not given an indication the definite time that will be coming. And I think that is what maybe can just describe as wanted. And since once they brought in this information, the medical report and other things, I think it's clear now that the wanted was far better than the word fugitive. It has a lot of implication. I think that OSP need to be very careful of that.
All right. Lawyer Vitus Bang.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. You've joined us on phone. I think we're having some difficulty with your stream.
Yes. Good
Okay.
morning to you and good morning to your viewers.
Yeah, great. Now, from your own observation, looking at the press conference in itself, the position of the special prosecutor, the explanations they have undertaken, and now delisting from the red list, so to speak, not again tagging the former finance minister as a fugitive, it also means that the concern could be, it could stifle the investigation and then the investigative process, knowing that they have to wait up to May. As a legal person, would you say it is normal, but in order to perhaps not feed the perception of the public that perhaps is buying time, that should not be accepted?
Well, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. Indeed, the special prosecutor has a very wide mandate to discharge, and it is important that he has some powers, expansive powers, to be able to enforce that mandate that has been given to it under the Special Prosecutors Act. In terms of investigations, I do not know what the special prosecutor knows, but I believe that the information available to the special prosecutor is such that the special prosecutor thinks this is a really very serious allegations that have been made about the former finance minister, which in his discretion, it means that it is okay to go public and declare him wanted. Now, in terms of the investigations, if the finance minister were even to be in Ghana, the finance minister could simply tell the special prosecutor that I have nothing to say. Okay. And basically just keep quiet. So a lot of the investigation has to be done by the special prosecutor, independent of the suspect here, the former finance minister. If he comes and says that I have nothing to say, there's nothing the special prosecutor can do. Yeah. I am only believing that at this point, the special prosecutor has done enough investigations, has questioned, other public officers, internal auditors, and other people who are the various ministries, okay? And he thinks that all the investigations lead to the former finance minister being the one criminally liable. So that is why he wants to have a word with him. But I also think that the special prosecutor should explore other options, including going to the jurisdiction where the former finance minister is, to investigate him. If you and some other persons were even to be in the hospital but is alleged to have committed an offense, you would have the security of the state being deployed to the hospital to guard the person, even if the person is at the point of death. And when the person finally recovers, the person will be in the custody of the police again. So I think that the special prosecutor should explore that option of going to where the suspect is. He will find out for himself whether indeed he is sick and in the care of a medical facility. Even if he's in the care of a medical facility and the circumstances are such that he can be questioned, I believe that he can. The former finance minister will be able to answer. If the former finance minister requires some documentation to be able to properly answer, I'm sure that he can request for those documentation to be able to answer. All so right. I think that for the special prosecutor to really go out to declare the former finance minister wanted, it means that there may be a lot of information that he has that we do not have. All and right. Taking due cognizance of the fact that this special prosecutor was appointed by the former government, I think that it took a lot of courage for him to do this. But in all of this, the constitutional presumption of the innocence of the accused person cannot be taken away, or the suspect cannot be taken away. Okay. So all of this may end in maybe the former finance minister not found criminally liable, but of course some damage would have been caused to his reputation. So in the case that the special prosecutor has withdrawn or basically him from the wanted list of the OSP, I hope that there will be a proper collaboration with the lawyers for the former finance minister so that the investigations can move forward. All of this is telling everyone that public office is not your place. You are only to serve, and the day of accountability will come.
All right.
Criminal offences have no expiry date.
Okay.
So even if you are not if you are not, the law does not, you don't take the law, the law doesn't come against you today because probably you are in government. The law may come after you sometime.
Okay.
But that is not to suggest that the former finance minister is criminally culpable. But these are matters that are of public concern.
Right. We do understand that. So, you, Mohammed Abdulaziz, if we have to undertake all these, the OSP having the right, going public, and saying that per their investigations and efforts to get him and failing, describing him as a fugitive. What is wrong with that? Because, for example, on our stream, I have Pajo, who, of course, takes offense with me heckling you or perhaps trying to do that interjection of the video, etc. But he says that a former president can be called government official one and all forms of adjectives and attributes ascribed to him. Yeah. So what is wrong if the same is undertaken in relation to this very man?
There's nothing wrong with that. And like I said earlier, the OSP is of the considered opinion that the medical report submitted to his office was sketchy and that it was not enough grounds for him not to attend upon his invitation. And the lawyers also wrote to the OSP indicating that they didn't know when their client would be back in Ghana. Exactly. He was run away from justice. Look, and this Ken Ofori-Atta that we are talking about, per the court records in the Atufosin trial, he and Nanado, as president, were those forcing the Attorney General then, Godfrey Dami, to make sure that he secures conviction against Atufosin. It's part of the court record. Power can trick you. Just some few years back, some few months back, when he had power, he, against all reason and evidence, was pushing for another Ghanaian, another former deputy finance minister, to be jailed. Today, no one is forcing you to be jailed. Just come and answer questions. That one has turned into trouble. Is Atufosin half a Ghanaian? Doesn't he have the rights and the liberties that Ken has? And so I don't know what is so special, what is so special about him that when he described as a fugitive and wanted, people have issues with it. If you are running away from the law, what are you? You are a fugitive. I have no qualms. I have no problem with it. In any case, this cannot be seen as a political persecution. After all, it is not the Attorney General or any NDC officer who is who has declared him a fugitive. No, this OSP was appointed by the same Akufo-Addo. And so this has got nothing to do with the NDC as a party and our government. We think that Ken Ofori-Atta has committed a lot of offenses that leads to corruption. And for me, I still stand by my conviction that for us to pursue this case thoroughly and speedily, the office of the Attorney General must be involved. There are a lot of cases against him. I'm sure if we are given the whole day to count the number of offenses, either conflict of interest or clear acts of corruption that he was involved in, we may need more than a day to do that. And so that's a matter between the OSP and Ken Ofori-Atta. If you describe President Mahama as government official one, you were pushing for Atufosin and Co. to be jailed. Today is your turn. When Kufuor said power can trick you, this is what he meant. That power can trick you, power tricked him.
Okay. How do we, in relation to this very subject matter, try to create the environment where when the public has a certain perception and then enforcement actions in relation to persecution are undertaken by an authority or an agency like the OSP, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, it is not then misconstrued to be going after political opponents?
That's what I said. I think it's just a matter of reiterating my earlier view and then reiterating or redirecting your focus to what we proposed in our great transformational plan.
The disaggregation? of the two offices?
No, it is critical because, see, like I said earlier, we have a constitution, you understand, that has as one of its cardinal values and principles, mean the values of probity and accountability. I've come here numerous times, and it's not an original thought.
Yeah.
It's a thought that a lot of democratic experts, people who believe in democracy, have said that you can only sustain democracy if you create a culture that, beyond tolerating diverse views, also holds political leadership accountable. Also, I recall, I came here some time ago, I think 2 or 3 times, and I was saying that a day of reckoning will come. So, if you are going to keep the people fired, because we should remember that in a constitutional democracy, the raw power is from the people. Yeah. We give people to leaders, and then they're supposed to use those powers to our benefit. You understand? So that there must be an accountability system embedded there. But then once again, how do you ensure that, in spite of accountability and probity being one of the cardinal principles that underpins this democracy, we wouldn't have a situation where the people who are the real repositories of political power, the people, will not think that their powers are being used as a weapon to pursue your political opponents. We can only do that if we have a body that's truly independent that can do that. And that's why we are saying that, as a matter of agency, 2 things, either like my brother, either we decouple the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, and Attorney General just prosecutes, or if we don't want to do that, then we create an independent prosecutor. We call it a czar, who is truly independent. And that person will be only truly independent if he gets his powers from the Constitution, not these agents. Because contrary to what people are saying, I think that rather the OSP didn't have the courage to pursue Oforiatta and the other MPP people when Nanado was in power, and only has the courage because they are no longer in power. Yeah. So the question is he truly independent? And is he serving the purpose for which he was serving?
That really is a problem.
No, it's a problem because this SML issue has been in the news for more than 2 years.
The way expenditures were also made for the National Cathedral. Because he even appeared at the committee that was looking at
this ambulance issue. The numerous conflict of interest issues, the PDS, so many issues. The point is that the OSP didn't know and suddenly realized when there was a part. And the fact that you saw the courage he was showing, that so I now declare him a fugitive of. Could you have said that another previous regime?
Just about a year ago.
We shouldn't deceive ourselves. I mean, let me say it again. See, to sustain democracy, to ensure that this democracy is to our benefit, then the politicians, like you rightly said, they should stop this doing something to represent something. Okay. But it's like their major focus is how do we perpetuate ourselves in power? They are not serving the people of Ghana. You understand? So, His Excellency John says a reset. The reset also means that then we should have a proper reset that will create an independent prosecutor who is truly independent and who cannot be influenced by anybody else. Unless that is done,
irrespective of,
then our battle against corruption will be lost. 2, we will lose the fidelity and the support of the people who are the real repositories of political power, because they will think that the powers that we have given to these politicians, they're going to weaponize it and chase their political opponents, and that won't be good for the country.
Let me just ask a simple question here.
All right.
Just one question.
Yes, please.
Just one question.
Dr. Free, are you still on the stream? Okay.
Could the action by the OSP also be an attempt to stop the AG into going into some of these issues? Because these are real criminal issues. The evidence, especially in respect of SML and the ambulance issues, and so glaring. So, is it also a strategy to preclude or stop the Attorney General from delving into those issues?
He can't stop the Attorney General.
You see, I don't know what the law says when an agency, for instance, the OSP, is pursuing a case in court. Would the Attorney General also be right in terms of law?
Let me say, suppose I'm your agent, and I'm doing something that you do not agree with. I don't have the power to stop me. The Constitution is clear. It says all prosecutorial powers resides in who? The AG.
But is it the understanding that we have about the OSP? You can imagine, for instance, if the AG was to ask him to stop today and take over the case, wouldn't that be seen as a political interference?
Yes, I'm here.
Is it also a strategy by him?
Okay, let me have
to stop us from dealing with that?
Let me have Dr. Free. Dr. Free.
Yes.
Okay. it will not be wrong, right? When we have an observation being made where even core leaders of the MPP, and I've seen a number of videos, and then contribution, for example, lawyer Vincent Asefwa, for example, even says Ken Ofori-Atta is on his own, and so to speak. You know, when the reaction within your own party is mixed in relation to not only these charges, but the actions or inactions or omissions that were undertaken in relation to these charges, and it looks like you don't have the mass support, even in your own party, you cannot say that that individual within the public realm doesn't need to be held to account. Is that not the case? You know,
Roland, everyone or every Ghanaian being given a responsibility and being in charge or being a leader, you are supposed to be accountable. Those that are for people that are supposed to be responsible, accountable to anything that be assigned to them. So it's just indicates the environment in which Ken Ofori-Atta finds himself. And probably you might not see all of them supporting him because of maybe he has stepped some toes and he has not been fair to some people. And you know that the parliament, we have some people who were against him being the finance minister. So the intent at that time was to get him out, but he was being put there by the president. So what we're trying to say is that in his term, he might not all, at least have gotten all the support. So if any issue comes in, maybe people who were against you during that time will not be in for you to defend you. And that is what is happening now in the MPP. And I think it might be very difficult to get all of them because Ofori-Atta has been, excuse me to say, a problem to most or some of the MPP members.
How would you describe the actions of Ken Ofori-Atta himself when he was in office in relation to these charges, so to speak?
Yeah, hello. Again,
how would you describe the actions of?
I don't know why the internet is.
Hello.
I'm getting you.
Okay.
Please.
Can you get me now? Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, that's a quick. All right. Okay. Sorry, we're having a mix-up with this, but let's get on to the subject of the asset that need to be declared and what the law actually says. You do that before, etc. The president himself says he's done that, but when it comes to the declaration of assets, because of the way the law says it has to be done, the question then is, ideally, shouldn't we be taking an action which we all get to know publicly instead of just sealing it, etc.? Let me start with you. Because he's an MP, he's done that before, so I will land with him. But let me start with you, because you are the lawyer.
Listen, I agree with you. Because what's the sense of...
Because we tend to just put it in a brown envelope. Okay, for the want of a better description, because brown envelope has become a Tony issue this morning, white envelope. But we, the public, that these officials are supposed to be accountable for, we don't know. And they said they are following the law. But at the end of the day, we're supposed to be having our friends who enter government accountable to us.
No, they are accountable to us. You get a picture. And so, you see, ideally, if the people who are supposed to see, so what's the whole essence of this asset declaration thing? It's so that we can have a basis to more or less audit what you acquired later, and then try and see if there is a reason for us to further investigate and see if we can say that there's an issue of what's called corruption about you, or you've acquired property in a manner that can be said to be illegitimate. You understand? So in my view, we need a comprehensive review. You know, I've talked about review, and I think our GTP is talking about it. The asset declaration shouldn't just be a standalone. It should also go with a frequent, periodic lifestyle audit. You get a picture. So it's not about, oh, you say declare, so you declare once again doing something to represent something. And like you rightly said, so it's in an envelope, it's there. Probably understand why they want to put it in an envelope. But in a society where there's real accountability, then it should be a proper declaration. And when I say proper declaration, then it should be known. Or you say you want to be a public, it should be known. I have 2 houses, I have 3 days, it should be known. And then beyond that, we should have a frequent, let's say a quarterly, or what's called half yearly lifestyle audit, because you know, and we all know, because how much you are paid, your salary and your allowances is a matter of public knowledge. It's not something which is meant to be a secret.
You mean ideally?
No, I'm talking about.
Even though it's public knowledge.
Oh, no, but the MPs, their salary is public knowledge. The ministers. Yeah, you understand? It's public knowledge. It's not something that is in a brown envelope hidden somewhere. If you want to know, you will know. Because it's some, you understand? And then within 1 year of becoming an MP or a minister, you start putting up huge apartment complexes. You understand? It beggars for an audit, for us to query you. You understand? To hold you accountable. How did you come by those things? And that's what I'm saying, that we need a radical review of the entire architecture, corruption fighting architecture, to not only limit it to declare and then put it in a brown and nobody knows. That's doing something to me. So I've declared, I've put it in a envelope, I've sealed it. That's it. You understand? But it should, that declaration, like I said, should be made public. And 2, it should then also include a regular lifestyle audit. But having said that,
to be made publicly.
Lifestyle, yes, lifestyle. You are public, so nothing about you is private. You understand? But we are not there yet. As in, I wish His Excellency would be radical about it. But he must also be commended for the fact that he's publicly said that at least he has done his asset declaration and he's given his ministers up to 31st March. I recall that around 2022 there was a publication where just a few of the ministers of Nado
by the 4th estate,
had fulfilled,
and even MPs,
had fulfilled this statutory, this legal requirement. So I'm commending him for the step he's taking and for the fact that he is compelling his appointees to do same. But having said that, the promise is for a reset. You understand? And that is, in my view, very comprehensive. It means that we are going to reset the institutions. We are going to ensure that we create a situation that will help the public officials not to be corrupt. Because that for human beings, when you leave all of us, without consequence, we all of us can do anything at all. You understand? And I think that beyond just the assets declaration, even being made public, like you are saying, and I agree with you on all fours on that, but it won't be complete unless there's also a system that does periodic and regular lifestyle audits. You understand? To ensure that people just don't walk into power with nothing, and within 6 months they have a fleet of vehicles and what's called huge apartments and a situation where people go to university and they don't want to work, they want to do politics because that's the quickest way of making money. You understand? So I commend the president, but I think a lot more need to be done. Yeah.
Okay, because Dr. Efriye is on phone, so I will land on you finally. Dr. Efriye, I know you were ending on the subject, so please end there when it comes to Ken Ofori-Atta, and then you can start your own views on the president's position on his appointees and their assets that need to be declared and how they have to do that, and even the deadline he's given. But Ofori-Atta, please conclude for me.
All right, okay. When it comes to the Ofori-Atta issue, that his party members are not supporting, some of them are not supporting because of maybe his actions and inactions. And you can even remember that during his time, where some MPs were against he being still the Minister for Finance. So, due to these issues within the party, that some of them were having, I think that
of this constitution.
Okay, Free.
Things certain issues have cropped up. So it's normal when people, and I think that he has stepped a lot of toes within the party. At the same time, people also were not supporting him, but due to the president still insisting that he has to be the finance minister. So that is what is telling that some of them are still against him, and maybe they will not turn to even defend or try to talk about his issues. And back to the issue that we were discussing in terms of the declaration of assets.
Yeah.
It's Roland. I think when Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown some time ago, the issues of these asset declaration came. And that is when public officials, people were so angry that they acquired certain things that were illegally, so that led to some of the agitation against Kwame Nkrumah. And this has been evolving since. And in 1979, I realized that a committee was set up, and then they put into the constitution.
Well, we're having issue with, I think, the reception. And, well, we have to, unfortunately, end our session with you. Dr. Samuel Efriye, thank you very much. And but you declared your assets, did you? Did you try to?
I did when
because by the 2022 report of the Fourth Estate, as well as other inquiries we also had made, many members of parliament even didn't.
At that time, I wasn't in
even
parliament.
this
No,
I understand.
My assets.
But tell me your own
when I was
experience.
required to do, I did.
Okay.
And I did that sincerely.
What's the experience like? Let's say you enter parliament fresh, or if you're a DCM, MNDC, and all that, or you're a public official.
So as soon as you assume such an office, the form is given to you, you fill the form, then you put it in an envelope, and then submit it to the office of the Auditor General. But Roland, let us commend President Mahama for not just declaring his assets so early, but also doing that publicly and calling on all his appointees to do same by the end of the first quarter, and also sending a signal or a clear warning to all appointees that if you do not declare your assets as required by law by 31st of March, you would attract some sanctions, including you losing your job. And so let's commend President Mahama for that singular act. The declaration of assets, I don't know where we got the practice of putting everything in the envelope, because if you read the law, I don't know if there's a regulation that supports it, but if you read Article 286 or so, there's nothing about you putting the declared assets in an envelope. But what we also forget is that it's not just about assets, also liabilities must also be included. And when they even talk about assets, they are not just referring to only immovable assets. It includes even your bank accounts. We've seen how some people have gotten their bank accounts so fat within some few years after going into office. And look, even when you read that, they say a person who holds a public office mentioned in clause 5 of this article shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all property or assets owned by or liabilities owed by him, directly or indirectly. So you could also be owning some assets indirectly. It could be your spouse who is holding those assets in your name. And so we must tighten the law. And I remember this was part of the recommendations that the CRC actually made, that President Mahama accepted, that when you declare your assets, if you go and read the white paper that was issued by President Mahama and then this at that time, it accepted the recommendation of the CRC that when you declare your assets in an envelope to the Auditor General, the Auditor General should be able to go and verify those assets that you have declared. But I think that we can take the notch higher and it says that just don't declare in an envelope for the auditor to go and verify. Make it public. Let us know if you have 5 houses or 10 houses. Let us know if you have 2 cars or just a car. Once you become a public officer, you cease to be a private person. Everything about you becomes a public, because you are coming to manage a public funds. And so, apart from just what the CRC recommended, that when you declare your assets, the auditor general should have the mandate, the power, and the authority to go and verify. It should be made public. Yes. As it stands now, they can only make it public when a commission of inquiry or a court order. Yeah. You know, we can fine tune our laws. And I think that President Mahama, with the constitutional review that he has promised to do before he leaves office, would look in that direction.
When you go out of
major call.
When the term of parliament ends, yes, do you go back? Because ideally, by the law, you're supposed
by the law, you see, when you leave office, you are also supposed to declare.
Because immediately let's say, for example, you lose your seat, or there's a period of
I don't know of anybody who has done that before. I don't know of anybody, but that's what the law requires. When you read the law, it requires that even when you leave office, either at the end of the 4 years, because normally when you are appointed or an MP, it is for a period of 4 years. So at the end of the 4th year, you are also supposed to declare, even if your appointment as a minister or a deputy minister is terminated, you are supposed to declare your assets again, so that at least the state can tell what you acquired whilst you were in that office. But Rula, let me also add that people think that declaring assets is just for MPs, ministers, and deputy ministers. It goes beyond that. Yeah. Even people who think that they are not part of it. Even heads of institutions, heads of department of public institutions, they are all supposed to. Right. They are all supposed to. You have ambassadors. You have heads of ministries, departments, or equivalent offices in the civil service, chairman, managing director, general manager, and departmental heads of public corporations. So if we were to follow the law to the latter, I'm sure that almost every public servant would be declaring his assets. But I agree with you when you talk about the lifestyle audit. Yeah. I have listened to. You see, we need a digital asset register. I should be able to tell just by a click of a computer that Mr. A owns 10 houses, owns 5 cars. I mean, we should have an asset register.
I remember I did some literature review some time back on this very subject. I was hosting, I was moderating a panel for an NGO. And so during the Obama period, for example, there was the declaration that he made publicly when he was in office, where his remuneration was coming from, his income, so to speak. And then he also had to declare when he wrote books and made speeches, because he's entitled to mix those actions and those speeches, and he charges. And so those declarations were made. And you even will be told how much he's worth, how much he gets in office, and how much he earns from those actions by way of his own income. Why is it that, for example, you take what the Auditor General even expands from what Article 286 says, to the point that even officers, and he says, head office of the civil service, persons who are head of accountants in internal auditors, procurement officers, planning and budget officers in finance and procurement department of government ministries, departments and agencies, districts, municipalities, metropolitan assemblies, etc. An officer in any public office or public institution other than the armed forces, the salary attached to which is equivalent to or above the salary of a director in the civil service. And we seem to only focus on those who are appointed into political office. So now we have a transition, new president, new party, and we're only focusing on who is the chief executive, they have to come in, who is the MP, who is the minister, etc. But really, all those, what do you make of it?
No, it's a big problem. Because see, in fact, let me be blunt here. We are talking about corruption. We talk about corruption, and our focus is on the
political class.
Exactly. But you see, and I'm saying this carefully, but I'm convinced that the real problem, the bigger problem is not the political class. There's the sacrificial lamp. I'm not saying that I'm exonerating them. Some of them are a problem. But the bigger problem has to do with the system. That's the system, the people who are the...
You mean we're inherently corrupt? The system makes us corrupt?
Because consistently, so it's like we all know. But you see, if they declare they declare their salary, officers, I'm sure you find somebody who is earning probably 3,000 Ghana cedis, but who has a mansion in
how did he acquire that?
In cantonments, who's driving a Mercedes, as in who you understand. So the system we have created for ourselves is a system that breeds and supports corruption. I love football. I love football. If you want to be like the advanced countries, everybody knows Mo Salah's salary.
Sorry, yeah.
Everybody.
Or even the British Prime Minister.
Yeah. Everybody knows how much. In fact, I remember when I was in law school and then they were coming to introduce Fordham University was introducing some judge PS system, and so they were talking to us and they were dilly-dallying around how much the assistant was going to get. So the Fordham professor said, he can't believe that we are dilly-dallying around it, and that the salary would be $1,000. And the ease with which he said, see, there's this culture in this country, a culture of unnecessary secrecy, which creates the environment for corruption and the dire consequence of corruption to thrive. Yeah, people who take 1,000 Ghana cedis, and the person is living a lifestyle, that's what the person is earning 30,000. To fight this, to fight corruption and to fight it very well, then we need to create a new system. That's what I'm saying, the reset can start it. If the reset doesn't, one day we'll come and reset it. But the reset can start it. Create a new system.
I think we have.
No, you should start. No. Right now, they're still doing something.
At least we have.
Yeah, but the new system,
we have declared ourselves publicly.
Yeah, but that's what but the new system should provide leadership whose focus is to alter and change the culture in this country. You understand? To a culture that encourages the spirit of transparency. You understand? The spirit of meritocracy. You understand? And to achieve that, and this issue of this law, that says that even officers must declare their assets. You understand? Must be enforced to its letter. And like we all agree on this table, because I said my brother supports me 100%. The declaration shouldn't be a brown envelope declaration.
It shouldn't be.
It has to be made public.
It has to be properly public. You understand? And let's alter the way we think and the way. But this secrecy and this, it will ensure that my friends, the political class, they will continue to take the
backlash.
Yeah, the backlash, because I'm not saying that they are holy, but the real problem is not them.
Okay.
The real problem is, and they are there. People, they are there. The Kakamotobis, they are there.
All right.
Our focus, because we don't know them, our focus is on people who dare
for my MP and all that.
Who dare for votes?
Who dare to put their face up? And the real problem is because you just think about it. NDC will go, NPP will go, but the directors, they are still there.
I don't understand. You mean chopping money?
I say because
let me read some comments.
The civil, are they civil servants or
civil?
Yeah,
depending on where they work.
But the directors,
they are civil servants.
Yeah,
they go through the
MVP go, MVP come. They are still there. And do you think any minister can do anything without them? Let's be.
If they are aligned to one party, they just go and hide.
Yeah, but
for 8 years, then they emerge again.
But you see, if we want to deal comprehensively with corruption, then the focus should be on the system.
Okay.
Not just on the.
Today, you are blasting you are saying they should initiate. They should take the bull by the horn.
Because if you want to be a leader, you need to be courageous. You see, you need to have that confidence and that courage to bring about real change that will impact on the lives of people.
Money says
what we are saying is in tandem with what President Mama says, that sunshine is the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
And that if we bring
money says, why should the OSP go and waste our money on someone who has been accused for causing financial loss to the state? Mr. Kenoforiata is wearing his white gown and reading the Bible always to the doctors and nurses at his hideout. Although, I think that publicly we know where he is. Money, be very careful. And then, Mr. Bachman, Uncle, and then, public officers should not declare assets in private. There must be public disclosure, verification, and lifestyle audit during and after office. Very interesting there as well. And then also Lord Kofi Oyarifa Teman. Even though the option of the OSP following up to the new jurisdiction of Oforiatta to question him, the situation, the current economic situation doesn't or will not support that. Okay. You're saying going after him where he's domiciled currently should not be the way to go. Musa Abatwa, Aswanse, whether the OSP has removed Ken Oforiatta from the wanted list or not is not our concern. What really matters is ensuring that the public funds misappropriated or misapplied under his watch are fully accounted for. And Ambassador Sampi Yale says it appears that all the revenue assurance schemes set up by the Akufo-Addo-led government were grand schemes for stealing Ghana, Kelny GVG, SML, Kroll and Associates, Japa Deal, Uptel, PDS, Cry My Beloved Country. Hey, Ambassador. And then Nelson Akotia said, it is time we get serious as a country. The special prosecutor should get serious. What has changed all of a sudden? JM should fire the Hey, Nelson Akotia, Charlie, cool down. Now, a former member of parliament also sent me a message. And then Bilal Mwazo, Bono East, I wish all the best. You say that what needs to be done. Bruce Foko also says that, look, the days are being numbered. So far, the actions that are being taken by the JM government looks good. So he has to continue, whip his appointees into line. We know those who chop money, you say, and we will be watching closely. Now, William Yenzu Kwanzaa says, we are not taking the Oforiatta issue lightly. The OSP seems ineffective, and we need to scrutinize his track record over the years to combat corruption. Yenzu Kwanzaa. And let me just read also a couple more which seem to have come in as well. And we'll just this one is coming from Agnes Darko, Ghana National Association of Teachers. You say there's a birthday. All right. Let me also get on to the stream and also acknowledge many of you who also have been watching us. Kweku Chow says MPP brought someone who was sick from the hospital to vote on e-levy. So why can't Oforiatta come, whether he's sick or not, to Ghana? Hey, you people, you are wicked though.
Very good example.
Okay. And then Kingston Bisnap Asimga, thank you. I've seen your message. Roland, please, the OSP shouldn't just withdraw the word fugitive, but then come out and apologize to Ghanaians for using such word. Safo MPP Bernard. And then Peter Ekwom says, God bless your mama for his good work. And then Mona OA, wish you all the best for the day as well. It says, money have retired, though. And Kingston, for all the things that you say to us. We're grateful. Obrempon Kaba, Kwesi Mensa, good morning to you as well. And all those who tend to watch us, we're grateful and always sharing the stream. But, gentlemen, thank you very much. And then also, we have to tell you that we have a lot to talk about because we have *439#. It is cash out time. You have to choose option 2. Increase the number of stakes first. You increase the number of tickets subsequently when you get the prompt. It is the only way that you get your numbers replicated on the electronic dashboard so that when we do the draws, you become one of those lucky winners. Yeah. All right. But also tell you, it's week 2 of the Fit Start Challenge. Which team do you think is making progress? All right. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Based on a recent survey, more than 52% of Ghanaians agree farm animal welfare is important. 64